What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about the WNBA's 2025 season update. But before we do that, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment, tell anyone about the show. Trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. But like I said, we're going to talk about today the WNBA's 2025 season update because we at the 20% marker. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We got about 40 games played or to play. We got about 8 games played. So with that, who's been interesting thus far in the season? Well, we do have a couple teams because I did tell y'all we have some expectations on who's going to make the playoffs and who not. We got some automatics. We got some questionables. So let's go ahead and bring them up on the list, right? So as y'all can see on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, we got the WNBA standings thus far and in order from top down. We got the Liberty, the Lynx, the Dream, the Mercury, the Aces, the Storm, the Mystics, the Fever, the Valkyries, the Sky, the Sparks, the Wings, and the Sun. Damn, Sun at the bottom? That is tough. Now, for those of y'all who aren't really hip, well, my automatic teams were, in fact, the Liberty, the Aces, the Dream, the Fever, and the Lynx. My questionable teams, the Storm, the Mercury, the Sparks, the Sky, and the Wings. 3 teams I did not mention: Mystics, Suns, and Valkyries. They weren't going to make the playoffs. So, who do I want to talk about first? Well, I got to talk about the Mystics first because, again, ladies and gentlemen, I did not have them this high initially. Because, again, I do expect them to trade Brittney Sykes, Stephanie Dolson, players like that to try to look to build for the future. Now, keep in mind, we'll talk more about them. But, again, I just wanted to give a little context because, yeah, they were surprising this year. Thus far, at least this far. Thus far. It's early. Now, the Valkyries, I'm curious where they actually end up landing because they're a little higher than what I thought they were going to be. I thought they'd be at the bottom. They not, though. So I'm very surprised where they'll land, where they will land. They have a chip on their shoulder because they're the new team on the block. I am curious how they finish the season. But let's go ahead and talk about some other teams, right? Like my Sparks. The Kelsey Plum trade request. I got to see where the results land. Now, I thought we were going to be a little higher. It's early, but we low. We low. And I'm saying no, because of my expectations early on. So, again, wasn't seeing them being this low. Wasn't seeing us being that low. How about the Mercury? Are they a dark horse team to winning the championship? Ladies and gentlemen, they're pretty high. And they don't have all of their big 3. That's scary to think about. That's extremely scary to think about. A high seeding and missing 1/3 of your big 3. Oh, I love to see how they go for the end of the season. And then a team that's been pretty big for a lot of people, for a lot of reasons. The Indiana Fever. Now, they've been lower than expected, right? They've been dealing with some injuries early on. Plus, you got to remember, they formed together early. So I'm wondering, is it cohesion issues? Or is their roster just that bad? Like, we got to figure it out. But again, they have been having some injuries to their roster. So I understand why they are a little low. I just do expect them to be a little higher. And remember the expectations we had coming into the season? Yeah, injuries are part of the game. So if y'all mess up, I'm going to be looking at y'all. The Fever as a whole, by the way. The Lynx, though. The Lynx is another team because they are winning close games. Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite spectacular to see the Lynx actually winning games. I will say that. Close games, too. Got to pay attention to those. But those are the teams that I'm focusing on, or the teams that I paid attention to, because based on my expectations, they differed. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the WNBA rankings, right? I'm going to go from top down real fast because, again, I know y'all not going to try to hear all these teams, okay? But let's start it off with the Sun because I do think that the Connecticut Sun, they do. All right, I ain't listing them up here. I'm going to keep a space, babe. Tina, Charles, Marina Mabrey, they were the valued options, and I don't see anything else really happening. I do like Olivia Nelson-Ododa on the squad. Show some good trade value, all right? But realistically, this team is trying to build for the future. Now, they got Sanaya Rivers. I'm trying to figure out, is she a point guard or a wing in the WNBA? I do want to see her attack more, get to the free throw line. That's what I'm looking to see from the Sun. I'm not worrying about playoff expectations because, again, they ain't got the bones for a good team right now. They're still trying to build. So with that, let's go ahead and move on down to the next squad, or up, I guess, to the Dallas Wings. Now, they next at number 12. Now, here's the thing, too, ladies and gentlemen. They got Paige Bueckers, Arike Ogunbowale. That duo is electrifying. I will give you that. It's appealing. It's entertaining to watch. Will they be able to win with that duo? And I think the answer is no. So as a result, ladies and gentlemen, it does make me think, will this trade of Arike Ogunbowale be looming over the heads of the Dallas Wings? I do think it is. And as a result, may want to pay attention to that either this season or next. I do see that coming because, again, it's a result-driven league. Yeah, they're entertaining to watch, but they want to see wins. Also, a player like Alyssa Smith, she's playing out of position in part to who the Wings have on their roster. What if we shift everybody down and now we have a roster of Paige Bueckers, Dejanay Carrington, Maddie Siegrist, Alyssa Smith, and you get a center like, I don't know, Tina Charles. We just talked about Tina earlier. That's a good option to have on the squad. She could have played well with this Wings squad too. Now this Wings team is looking a little bit different. I think that's what the Wings are going to try to do. Get a center, flip Arike for the center, see how it works. That's my personal thought. And I kind of don't want it to happen, but we got to watch good basketball, good entertainment. And unfortunately, Arike might have to be the one to go. But let's see how this happens because, again, the Wings are not winning that much. Not really flying too much Wings. Let's go with my Sparks because we are not providing a spark at all in the NBA, in the WNBA. Listen, what we're verifying right now, Kelsey Plum, you're not a point guard. Let's just go ahead and call spade a spade. You're not a point guard at all. Odyssey Sims is more of a point guard than Kelsey Plum. Here's the thing. Both of them are 5'8". So my point guard and two guard are 5'8". Now what we're talking about. Now, the rest of my team is pretty stout. It's pretty tall, right? Kelsey has to be snapping, but we need a point guard to get the bigs involved, to get the wings involved, all that stuff. So if Kelsey just worrying about her scoring, that's going to be a little tough. Keep in mind, too, I'm a Paige Bueckers fan. So as a Sparks fan, I wanted Paige Bueckers, and we almost got Paige Bueckers with the number 1 pick. As a result, we can't. So now I'm looking at Paige Bueckers. Hey, how would Paige have fit with this squad? Also, keep in mind, I'm hearing rumblings of a Rickea Jackson might want out. Now, keep in mind, I have my gripes with Rickea Jackson, too, from an intangible standpoint, how she might view the game. She has still shown to be one of our better young players. So the fact that we're getting in Kelsey Plum and having to trade Rickea potentially, I'm not really liking that dynamic. And it's putting more pressure on my Sparks to win. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really feeling this Kelsey Plum experiment early on. We already at the bottom of the barrel. I expected us to be a low seed playoff team. It's looking a little bad. So, again, I'll talk more about the Kelsey and Paige comparison. Sparks, we're looking a little terrible. And I ain't liking how we moving. As a whole. And I think the Kelsey Plum fans, y'all going to irritate me this season. I can see it. I can already see it. But let's move on down because I don't want to talk about this too much more. We got the Chicago Sky, ladies and gentlemen. The Chicago Sky. All right, here's the thing because I got to call a spade a spade. Courtney Vandersloot is your oldest player. She cannot be leading the team in minutes for your team to be successful. Now, kudos to Vandersloot for passing her wife and former teammate, Allie Quigley, on being the Chicago Sky's all-time scorer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Good stuff. But she can't be leading the team in minutes played. Also, Angel Reese, Camila Cardozo. There are 2 things that y'all can work on. Since y'all are the building blocks, Angel, I need to see you improve out your offensive production to at least 48% plus from the field. You're now shooting 33%. Can't rock with that. You got to bring that up. Sorry. Got to call you out a little bit. So that is the challenge to me. Bring that up from 33 to 48% because it's looking a little bad now. It's looking a little bad. Then Cardozo, I need you to improve your defensive production. Like I need more than 0.8 blocks. I hear you. It's in limited minutes. I hear you. In comparison to Angels, you get a little less minutes. Still prove that you are a dominant force on the block. You have to. You're one of the taller players in the WNBA. It's easy for you to do so. Make that name for yourself. Be that bully. Because I thought you were a bully, but not in the sense that I'm saying right now. So you're kind of proving me right, and I would love to see the uptick in production. But from both of those players being a building block, Angel and Cardozo, I need to see a little bit more from you all. Just being honest. So that's my note about the Sky. And it's surprising, too, that they're ahead of my Sparks. That's really pissing me off. Anyway, let's go to the Valkyrie, because I didn't mention the Valkyrie at all initially. I didn't list them. And I was not expecting them to be this high, but it's still early in the season. You know what I'm saying? It's still early in the season. Shout out to Kahleah Thornton and Veronica Burton, because they have been playing as most improved players this season. So because of that, I do understand why the Valkyries are this high. My question is, do the Valkyries want to remain this high? Should you want to get a top pick? That's a legitimate question. So let's see if they do. But again, for the Valkyries, I don't want to talk too much about them. It's a lot of basketball to be played, and they got to show me a lot. Because again, it's still early. They have a chip on their shoulder, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm expecting them to do well early, maybe fall off late. But let's see, because again, they've been hooping. I got to call a spade a spade. But now, with the Valkyries, like I said, don't even talk about them too long. Let's go ahead and talk about the Indiana Fever, because a lot of y'all have been loving the Indiana Fever. Now, again, I mentioned they have had some injuries. Caitlin Clark, Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham. Those were some solid injuries. I can't hold you, okay? And that has resulted in their record, them being the number 8 seed. Now, they can still make the playoffs, obviously. I got a couple of things to note. Caitlin Clark, I have a personal challenge for you. Can you get to a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio? A clean, a pure 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. No rounding up like you got a 1.6 to 1. Like, no. Clean 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. And then also, three-point percentage. Can we uptick that from 31%? Also, Kelsey Mitchell, you shooting 29%. I need you to uptick that three-point percentage up as well, too. Both of y'all are your team's best three-point shooting squad, or both of y'all are the team's best three-point shooters outside of Alexi Hole, maybe, or Sophie Cunningham. Like, y'all are the top shooters. So we need to see you guys shoot the ball a little bit better. I'm sorry. That's a little bit. We need that. Aaliyah Boston, AB, you've been doing pretty well. I appreciate you. Let's see if you can dominate just a smidge more. I do believe you're the best player on the team. Stats proved it. Eye test shows you might be a little more dominant than Caitlin Clark. We do need to get you the basketball, though. So that's where Caitlin does come into the mix a little bit more so than everybody else on the team. But again, AB, when she's out, I do want to see you playmaking a little bit more, because I did see that last year. So again, I do like this Fever squad, ladies and gentlemen. I just got a couple question marks. And then also something like DeWanna Bonner, her PT being down, this is crazy. Like, they have a championship squad, not utilizing it properly. So, Stephanie White, I am looking at you as a coach. You may want to improve some things that y'all been doing. Still early. I'll give you that. Got some question marks. But that's enough about the Indiana Fever. Because let's move on down or up to the Washington Mystics, because I didn't list them either. Because I said I expect Brittney Sykes and Stephanie Dolson to get traded. And it has nothing to do with their game, but everything to do with their game. It's no disrespect. I expect them to get traded because they could help out a contending squad with relative ease. And the Mystics could realistically get something back, like a huge-ass haul for Brittney Sykes. Now, the rookies are playing outstanding right now. And pairing that with a WNBA star, just not the fandom cachet, which is, again, Brittney Sykes, the Mystics are a 7th seed. And you might think, all right, with a couple more tweaks, we might be able to move up even higher. Because, again, Leah Edwards is still trying. What's up with Aaliyah? I think she's injured or coming back from something. Because she ain't been getting as much PT as she could, too. And then you got Shakira Austin. They have a bunch of tradable assets, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody can use some of these pieces. So, again, I like the Mystics. I do expect them to drop a little bit once they do trade Sykes. If they don't trade Sykes, I'd be pretty surprised, because maybe they shouldn't. But again, I do expect them to, because of how basketball goes. They try to pay attention to the future. But when you got Sonya out here giving 14 points on almost 50, 40, 90 splits, Sonya Citron is tough. And then Kiki Iriefan, 13 points and 10 rebounds. That ain't bad, but the efficiency too is pretty solid as well. I think like 51% or something like that. That's what we're expecting to see out of an Angel Reese. That's what people want to see. The efficiency on the scoring plus the double-doubles. So they got that in the Washington Mystics. I think the Washington Mystics might be on their way in a couple seasons. But they drafted right, at least right now. I'm telling you that. But Washington Mystics, do they continue to be at the 7th seed? Will they be in the playoff hunt, or will they drop? I expect them to drop. But let's see if they remain in that playoff hunt, because they have surprised me. So with that being said, though, let's move on up to the Storm. You know what I mean? Because I'm done talking about the Mystics. Now the Storm, I'm going to keep this one simple, ladies and gentlemen, because there's not as much meat to the bones on this. Ezi Magbagor, you need to elevate your play for them to be a contender. I'm sorry. Like, Gabby Williams is a good player. Ezi, you probably could be third option. You probably could. Or if you're not going to be, then you got to improve your defensive anchor play. And I understand you got a good defensive squad with you, so you might even not need to. I know you have it in you. You're too good of a player to not be averaging like 2 blocks. Like, I could genuinely see 2 blocks out of you with ease, by the way. So, Ezi, that's my personal challenge. I need you to be a little bit more dominant, a little bit more forceful. Because, again, you actually have good value on the team. Need to see you do that. Got to. Because you got a top 5 player in Nneka Ogwumike. You got a top 5 point guard in Skylar Diggins-Smith. Or Skylar Diggins. Is it Skylar Diggins now? I think so. And then, like I said, Gabby Williams is a stud. You saw her go up against Team USA and do really well last year in the Olympics. You can add a couple points and be that defensive anchor that they need. And that's going to make them the contenders that they need to be. But until that time, I will say the Storm do look a little sluggish for me, just a smidge. Now, let's talk about the teams that actually are ahead of the Storm. Like the Aces, again, and this one's sad to say, ladies and gentlemen, but Jewell Loyd, I got to talk with you real quick because I need you to elevate your play for the Aces to be a contender. Like, everybody else is playing well. Jackie Young starting off strong. Mind you, Jackie, you got to keep that. You got to keep this strong start. Because you've done this in the past, but then slipped a little bit at the end too. Granted, it was because of injuries. I'll give you that. But like, I need to see you have this strong start because I've said you've been an all NBA caliber player. You can be MVP caliber player. Prove me right, please. But Jewell Loyd, right now, I'm wondering, should you be a third option or even a 6th woman? Like, kind of weird to say that. But you do need your own squad to a degree, and this squad is not your own. And efficiency was never really your strong suit. So because of that, 6th woman could be an ideal situation for you. But you still get the starter minutes, though, like a Jamal Crawford type situation. That might not be that bad. But that's a decent drop from where I had you, which was a potential star. So, again, that's what we're talking about. Jewell Loyd, if you can elevate your play, this does make the Aces squad a little bit scarier. And cohesion does matter. We got to give y'all some time. But, again, the Aces, they need you. Because Asia playing well, dominant. Chelsea Gray playing well. Jackie Young hooping. Depth per usual, they fine. They just need you to play stellar. And again, you'll be replacing Kelsey Plum, essentially. You're not the shooter that she is. You can be the scorer that she is, though. So I need to see that from Jewell. But till that time, let's move on up because we got a couple other teams to talk about. Like the Phoenix Mercury. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're this high. And keep in mind, Kahleah Copper has been out, okay? When she makes a return, can she return to form? And will that vault the Phoenix Mercury up even higher? Or will they drop just a smidge? Because, again, you're trying to get your cohesion. Remember, this is their first year playing together. Alyssa Thomas, Satu Sabali. Now, Kahleah Copper is a plug-and-play player, so she don't need the ball to dominate, and she can play off ball. She can be a defender. So that's a good thing. But how does the team look when she comes back? Also, can this team be injury-free the rest of the way? Because they might need that. Because, again, they're big 3 dominant. But they've been playing very well with the big 2 and their squad. So as long as Kahleah Copper comes in, egos are checked, put aside, because this technically is Kahleah Copper's squad. If we can do that, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But if not, hey, you can see the Mercury dip a little bit. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I think some of y'all might be wondering, how good really is Alyssa Thomas. I'm gonna say this: maybe if she had gone to the Fever, I could hear some Draymond Green and Steph Curry narratives over there, because she really does give you like a combination of Braun and Draymond Green, meaning Alyssa Thomas. Like, she is really that stout, bro. Everywhere she goes, she is successful, and her team is too. So you got to point. You got to remember that. Remember, the Sun were very close at winning championships multiple times. So I want to see what the Mercury do. But like I said, it's very simple. We'll see what happens when Kahleah Copper comes back. How do they look after the fact? But let's move on up to the Atlanta Dream. Ladies and gentlemen, the Atlanta Dream is a team that I've been talking about since the start of the season. I have high expectations for the Atlanta Dream, and they're the third team in the standings thus far. I love it. I love it. Now, Brittney Griner, I do want to see you more dominant on the defensive end, because I have DPOY expectations out of you. Whether you win it or not, I don't care. I expect you to at least be in the conversation and a leading candidate at minimum. So if you can't do that, tough. Because I've been saying you're one of the most physical freak of natures in the game. But if we can't dominate on defense and you're 6'9", it's going to be a problem. And I get you have a solid defensive team too. Still, it's going to be a problem. I need you to stand out. Now, also, Jordan Canada, their starting point guard, has not been playing. So what's her return/impact when she comes back? Does the team vault up or drop a little bit? And remember, they third right now. I expect Jordan to help the team function a little bit better. Help Ryan become more of a scorer, because you don't have to play make all the time. But Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray have actually been playmaking pretty decently too. So because of this, because of her being out, we might look at experimenting with Ryan and Alicia doing a little more playmaking, and maybe bringing in another guard or another wing or whatever the case may be. So I will be curious to see how the Dream look going forward when Jordan Canada returns. I love Jordan Canada. She comes from good tutelage. Trained under Sue Bird. Well, when I say trained, they were teammates. Went to my Sparks, did well. So the Atlanta Dream have a good player. And I could see her being a valued piece on this team, especially for this season, but at least over the next 2-3 seasons. But let's see what happens with this Atlanta Dream team, because, again, they rolling right now. And it's a what have you done for me lately league. I'll give you that. So fingers crossed that the Dream do well. But Atlanta fans, y'all could be dreaming too about winning the championship. I'm just saying, because we got two other teams to talk about, like the Minnesota Lynx. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, Napheesa Collier. I said last year she needs to be MVP and DPOY. Argue with your mama. And she won DPOY, was second up, was runner-up to MVP, and Asia Wilson did win it. And I'm going to say the same thing again. Right now, she's looking like she might need to be MVP and DPOY. Argue with your mama. Because, again, her team was playing without Kayla McBride for like 5 games. They number 2. In fact, they're 7-0 and went to the finals last year. Now, we can say that they might have an advantage over the other teams because of the cohesion early on, right? So they might be getting teams out the way. They're winning close games, so that might be a reason they might slip down a little later on. I didn't have them this high. I will say that. I did not have the Lynx this high. I had the Dream this high. I had the Storm that high. I can understand the Mercury and the Aces. The Lynx I did expect to drop. So the fact that they're this low, ladies and gentlemen, again, winning close games, that is a sign of a good team. But could it also mean that they're an overachieving team? We'll have to find out as time goes on. But again, the Lynx up here, Napheesa Collier, MVP and DPOY, argue with your mama as of right now. Kayla McBride can boogie. Let's see if they get another all-star on the team. And for the life of me, I would love to see Diamond Miller shine. Diamond can shine. Put a little pressure on her. That's all I'm saying. She's going to blossom. Y'all know what pressure builds. That's, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the number 1 team. Because the Lynx, like I said, they were in the finals last year, lost a close game in 5. This year, it'll be 7-game series. Cool. So, with that, who might get to the 7-game series, to the finals? Number 1 team, New York Liberty. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the New York Liberty don't have Benaja Laney Hamilton. She's out, had an injury. And they got Natasha Cloud as her replacement. And I use air quotes with that because I'm not saying she's replacing her, but at the same time, yes, she is kind of replacing Betnijah as well, too. But in doing so, the Liberty have looked repeat-esque. Like, depth looks stellar. Outside of a solid starting five, the New York Liberty do seem to boast a quality bench as well. So we got a solid starting five, a quality bench. Ladies and gentlemen, like, they just beat the Connecticut Sun by 43 points and hit 19 threes in the process. Now, again, the Connecticut Sun are the worst team point in time. 19 threes and 43-point difference. I don't care if you're the worst team, best team. 43 points is still 43 points. You beat anybody like that, that's tough. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I have got to point out the New York Liberty. They look repeat-esque. They have Brianna Stewart. They have Sabrina Ionescu. They have Jonquel Jones. All hooping. As long as they're injury-free, they get into the playoffs and definitely going to, at minimum, the second round. Now, I expect them to actually get back to the finals between you and myself. But if they don't, I do see some teams that could possibly beat them in the playoffs. These girls look tough, bro. They look tough, man. They got a good coach. They got the stars. They got the depth now. Imagine if they did have Betnijah Laney Hamilton. Oh, my God. That would just be unfair. That's a super team, and they already might be a super team right now. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, New York Liberty, they hooping. They looking good. But overall, again, I'd like to remind y'all, my playoff teams, automatics, and at that time it was no order, but, here it is. I said the Liberty, the Aces, the Dream, the Fever, and the Lynx. And I still believe that to be true, even though the Fever might dip a little bit because, again, the cohesion, there are some question marks now, some questionables. Then we got for the questionables, the Storm, the Mercury, the Sparks, the Sky, and the Wings. Yeah, I expect the Mercury to be automatics now. So I'll move the Mercury up to automatics. Now we got 6 automatics. The Storm, I do expect as well, too, so I can make that 7. I got to figure out who's going to be that 8th team between the Sparks, the Sky, the Wings, and the Mystics. Valkyries could try to sneak in there, too. I don't believe the Sun do at all whatsoever. But, ladies and gentlemen, overall, like I said, y'all are seeing the standings currently, and y'all are hearing my expectations. So, I'm curious what you all are thinking. Who do y'all think will be? Well, where do y'all think? Okay, tell you what. How do y'all like the standings thus far? Is there anybody that's surprising to you? And then, where do you all think the standings will be at the halfway mark? That's probably going to be the next. Well, maybe it's 40% mark. Because after that, then you got All-Star. Tell you what, we might do 40% or 50%. But either way, I'm curious to hear, one, how y'all think about the standings thus far, and what do y'all think is going to happen in the future. But again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we're at the 20% marker, and that is the end of the show. So thank you all for listening. I greatly appreciate it. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone about the show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. Hope you all are having a good one. Please make sure to continue to watch the WNBA as well as my show. Thank you all for listening. Take care.